So we're going to replace the tires on my Electra Glide. So first thing you got to do is take the saddlebag off, and then you'll loosen the two caliper bolts up right there and take them out. And take the caliper off. Okay. You'll pull this lock off the axle nut. And you take the muffler off this side. And you'll just loosen your hardware and just let your muffler on the left side drop. That's so you can get to the axle. Pull the axle out. If you want to, you can make a note of where your axle adjuster is right here. That's what puts your belt tension on. So if you want to note where it's at, then you'll take the axle nut out, which we're getting ready to do. Alright, so you get the axle nut off. Take this adjuster plate off. Just like that, and that's keyed, so it can only go on one way. And then you'll push the axle out. Now you want to take a note of where all your spacers are. Now this is a my bike's got analog brakes on it, so this is the analog brake sensor right here on this side. And then you got a spacer over here, inside here. But we'll pull the axle out and the wheel will be free. Alright, now your axle's out. So then you slide the wheel up and unthread the belt from around the sprocket. Like that. Then you'll need to jack the bike up high enough to get the tire to clear the fender, and you might have to do a little maneuvering to get that to happen. And I've got mine laid down at an angle, and then it'll just sit right back down. I need two hands to do it, but you see lay it down at an angle to get it out. And there it is. And when you have this thing out, you want to check the wheel bearings, make sure that they turn free. Don't have any bad sounds to them or any catches or anything. So this is an 11 model bike, but any bike 09 and up is going to have this pulley set up right here, where the pulley's locked in there with this isolator. You want to check your bearing on this. And make sure your isolator doesn't have any damage on it. Now I've got another set of wheels, so I've already got a new wheel and tire already mounted up. So all I got to do is switch this isolator out and switch this pulley out, and I'll be ready to go back on. So hang on. So I got another wheel with my new tire. You don't have to do this, but I just happen to have more than one set of wheels for my bike. So I'm checking the wheel bearing. Wheel bearing feels good. Alright, I've got a new rotor on here and new tire. Wheel bearing feels good. So we'll pull this isolator out of this other wheel here. We got that out. We'll take it out and we'll put it in the other wheel. That's all there is to that. And then we'll take our belt pulley and we'll drop her down in there. So we got that on there. And I was talking about my bike having ABS brakes. The ABS wheel bearings are colored different. Like this one's a yellow. The one on the other side is a black. That's a standard bearing. This is the ABS bearing. So the ABS bearings will always be colored different. If you got an ABS bike, it has to have the ABS bearings on the ABS sensor side, because the sensor reads that bearing to make your analog brakes work. Alright, now your brake caliper mount, it's got a slide on the swing arm that it's got to engage in. And then it will line up with the hole in your swing arm for your axle to go through. Your spacer, or in my case, my ABS sensor, will go to the inside of that. Now, when you lift the wheel up, the spacers, or the ABS sensor, will have to go in this recess so you'll have enough room to get into your swing arm. Now, a little tip here is if you let your jack down, see, I've got my jack way up so I could get the tire up underneath of it, but if you let your jack down about to the right height, you won't have to lift your wheel up. It can rest on the ground. And on this side, the same deal. Your spacer will go inside the hub, and you will thread your belt around your pulley when you get it up in place. And then I'm also going to clean my axle up before I get started. Alright, so we had to replace the brake pads on Electra Glide today. I think we got the good out of them here. So yeah, but it's real easy. You got this bolt, which is metric, because these are Brembo calipers, so they're metric. You pull this lock out, and then you undo the bolt, and you pull the pads out. And we've got the pads stuck back in, and I'll show you how to put that bolt in. Alright, so there's the bolt stuck in. And it goes through this hole in the pad right here and locks the pads in. And take an Allen wrench and screw it in. Alright, and then once you got it screwed in, grab this lock right here. It just snaps on the back of that bolt. Just like that right there. And all it does is it gets in a groove so the bolt can't back out by itself. So that's what you got. Alright, so we got the axle nut torqued down, and now we're putting the lock back on the axle, just like that. It snaps right in this groove here on the end of the axle. Now if the nut comes off, it comes to that lock and it can't come off any further. Alright, now we're going to put the brake caliper back on. Alright, so it goes on like that, and then we put the bolts back in. Alright, so we tighten these up and put the mufflers back on and the bags back on, and that's about this job done. So that's how you do it. Alright, we got her all buttoned up. I'm going to push her out here and rinse some of this crud off of it. But just wanted you guys to know, there's one more thing you want to do after you do a brake job on a bike or anything that's got disc brakes on it. When you push the pistons back in, you've took all the hydraulic pressure off of the system. So you want to take and see the pedal went all the way to the floorboard. You want to pump it up until you feel the tight pedal. Alright. Now you're good to go. If you'd have took off like that, you'd have probably panicked because you wouldn't have had no brakes. But now they're straight, so good to go for another, I don't know how many miles. I think I've put 5 sets of pads on the back of this. This thing, if you look, you see there's a groove. I mean, there's wear from here up on both sides, but this rotor has 95,000 miles on it. So like I said, I think I've put 5 sets of rear brake pads on this thing in 95,000 miles, and I've put 1 set of front pads, but I don't use my front brakes a whole bunch, so. But that's what we got.
Thanks for watching.